Altazor by Vicente Huidobro. Preface. I was born at the age of 33 on the day Christ died. I was born at the equinox, under the hydrangeas and the airplanes in the heat. I had the soulful gauge of a pigeon, a tunnel, a sentimental motor car. I heaved sighs like an acrobat. My father was blind and his hands were more wonderful than the night. I love the night, the hat of every day. The night of day, from one day to the next. My mother spoke like dawn, like blimps about to fall. Her hair was the color of a flag and her eyes were full of far-off ships. One day, I gathered up my parachute and said, "Between two swallows and a star." Here, death coming closer is like the earth falling into a balloon. Here, death is coming closer like the earth to a falling balloon. My mother embroidered abandoned tears on the first rainbows, and now my parachute drops from dream to dream through the spaces of death. On the first day, I met an unknown bird who said, "If I were a camel, I'd know no thirst. What time is it?" It drank the dewdrops in my hair, threw me 3.5 glances, and went off waving goodbye with its pompous handkerchief. At around 2 that afternoon, I met a charming aeroplane, full of fish scales and shells. It was searching for some corner of the sky to take shelter from the rain. There, far off, all the boats were anchored in the ink of dawn. One by one, they came loose from their moorings, dragging pennants of an indisputable dawn like the national colors. As the last ones drifted off, dawn appeared behind some immoderately swollen waves. Then I heard the voice of the Creator, who is nameless, who is a simple, hollow space, lovely as a navel. I created a great crashing sound, and that sound formed the oceans and formed the ocean's waves. That sound will be stuck forever to the waves of the sea, and the waves of the sea will be stuck forever to that sound, like stamps to a postcard. Then I braided a great cord of luminous rays to stitch each day to the next, the days with their original or reconstructed yet undeniable laws. Then I etched the geography of the earth and the lines of the hand. Then I drank a little cognac for hydrographic reasons. Then I created the mouth and the lips of the mouth to confine ambiguous smiles, and the teeth of the mouth to guard against the improprieties that come to our mouths. I created the tongue of the mouth, which man diverted from its role to make it learn to speak. To her, the beautiful swimmer, forever diverted from her aquatic and purely sensual role. My parachute began to dizzyingly drop. Such is the force of an attraction of death, of the open grave. Better believe it, the tomb has more power than a lover's eyes. The open tomb with all its charms, and I say it even to you, whose smile inspires thoughts of the origin of the world. My parachute caught on a burnt-out star, conscientiously continuing its orbit, as if it didn't know the uselessness of such efforts. And, taking advantage of this well-earned rest, I began to fill little squares of my chessboard with deep thoughts. True poems are fires. Poetry is propagating everywhere, its conquest lit with shivers of pleasure or pain. One should write in a language that is not the mother tongue. The 4 cardinal points are 3, north and south. A poem is something that will be. A poem is something that never is but ought to be. A poem is something that never has been and never can be. Flee from the external sublime if you don't want to die flattened out by the wind. If I didn't do something crazy at least once a year, I'd go crazy. Grabbing my parachute, I leap from the edge of my speeding star to a stratosphere of the hot last sigh. I wheel endlessly over the cliffs of dream. I wheel through clouds of death. I meet the virgin seated on the rose who says, "Look at my hands as transparent as light bulbs. Do you see the filaments where the blood of my pure light flows? Look at my halo. It has a few cracks in it, a proof of my antiquity. I am the virgin without human stain. There is nothing halfway about me, and I am the captain of the other 11,000 who were in fact excessively restored. I speak in a language that fills the heart accordingly to the laws of communicant clouds. I always say goodbye and stay. Love me, my child, for I adore your poetry, and I will teach you aerial prowess. I have a need for tenderness. Kiss my hair. I washed it this morning in clouds of dawn, and now I want to sleep on the mattress of occasional drizzle. My glances are a wire on the horizon where swallows rest. Love me. I got down on my knees in that circular space in the virgin rose and sat on my parachute. I slept, and then I recited my most beautiful poems. The flames of my poetry dried the virgin's hair. She thanked me and went off, seated in her soft rose. And I am here alone, like a little orphan of anonymous shipwrecks. Oh, how beautiful, how beautiful. I can see the mountains, rivers, forests, the sea, boats, flowers, seashells. I can see the night and day and the axis where they meet. Oh yes, I am Altazor, the great poet, without a horse that eats bird seed or warms its throat with moonbeams, with only my little parachute like a parasol over the planets. From each bead of sweat on my forehead I give birth to the stars, which leave you to the task of baptizing like a watered-down bottle of wine. I can see it all. My mind is forged in the tongues of prophets. The mountain is the sigh of God, rising in its swelling thermometer till it touches the feet of the beloved. He who has seen it all, who knows all the secrets without being Walt Whitman, for I have never had a beard as white as beautiful nurses in frozen streams. He who hears in the night the hammers of the counterfeits of coins, who are only diligent astronomers. He who drinks the warm glass of knowledge after the flood, obedient to the doves, and who knows the ways of weariness, the boiling wake of ships leaving behind. He who knows the storehouses of memory, of beautiful forgotten seasons. He, shepherd of airplanes, guide to the unmatched poles for mislaid nights and experienced west winds. He whimpering in his blanket net of unwitted aerolites. The day rises in his heart, and he lowers his eyelids to create the night of agricultural rest. He washes his hands in the glances of God, and combs his hair like a light, like a harvest of whose thin grains of satisfied rain, shouts of wandering off the flock over the hills when the stars sleep at night in the continual labor. The beautiful hunter faces of the cosmic waterhole for heartless birds. Be sad like gazelles before the infinite and the meteors, like deserts without mirages, until appearance of a mouth swollen with kisses for the vintage of exile. Be sad, for she waits you in the corner of a passing year. Perhaps she's at the end of your next song, and she'll be as beautiful as a free-falling waterfall and rich as the equatorial line. Be sad, sadder than the rose, that beautiful cage for glances and indexed experienced birds and bees. Life is a parachute voyage, and not what you'd like to think it is. So let's fall, falling from our heights to our depths. Let's leave the air stained with blood so that those who breathe it tomorrow will be poisoned. Inside yourself, outside yourself, you will fall from high to low, for that is your fate, your miserable fate. And the greater the height from which you fall, the higher you'll rebound, and the longer you'll remain in the memory of stone. We have leapt from the belly of our mother, or from the edge of a star, and we're falling. Oh, my parachute, the only perfumed rose of a stratosphere, the rose of death, cascading through the stars of death. Have you heard it? The sinister sound of closed chests. Open the gate of your soul and let out the candle to breathe. What a sigh you can sigh that will open the gate that it took a hurricane to close. Here's your parachute, man, wonderful as vertigo. Here's your parachute, poet, wonderful as the charms of the chasm. Here's your parachute, magician, which one word of yours can transform into a parachute, wonderful as the lightning bolt that tries to blind the Creator. What are you waiting for? But here is the secret of the gloom that forgot how to smile. The parachute awaits, tied to the gate like the endlessly runaway horse.